Hey everybody, welcome to another LoneHammer Daily podcast. I'm your host Randy Glenn, and today is December 29th, 2014. And before we start the show, I should give a special shout out to my wife who is celebrating her birthday today. And I won't say her age because I don't want to get slugged in the gut should she listen to this, but she probably won't. So I'm probably safe. But anyway, today's topic is going to be over the Khaine magic. I thought we'd cover the rules portion of it, a little bit of it anyway, for today's show, and it might go into tomorrow's as well, and then the end of the week, hopefully we'll get into some of the fluff of the Khaine book. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors. Lone Wolf is a 2,500 point Warhammer Fantasy tournament using the Swedish comp rules. You can check out everything you want to know about the Lone Wolf here in Dallas, Texas, which will be held March 21st and 22nd at lonewolfgt.com. Our second sponsor is Metalhead Minis. Metalhead Minis is a full commissioned painting service as well as a consignment operation. You can see all of their work and everything that they can do for you and your hobby at metalheadminis.com, or you can contact them directly at 505-859-2848. Check them out, and as always, if you talk to any of our sponsors, let them know that the guys from LoneHammer sent you. So anyway, to our today's topic, the Khaine End of Times rulebook. For those of you that were wondering if you should buy it, not buying, I definitely would recommend getting it. It's an awesome read, fluff-wise, and the rules to it aren't bad either. Some people don't like it, but the great thing about it is you don't have to play with it if you don't want it. You can get the fluff, have the rules, play it every so often, and that's the way it is. So as we go into the rules, if you open it up, the artwork is great, and it says right in here is how to use this book. There's this huge thing of how to use it in the narrative battles, but in big black print inside the book, it says this book is intended to be a companion volume to Warhammer Khaine. If you haven't read the story yet, then we highly recommend that you do so right away, as all the material in this book is inspired by the dark tale you will read. So, spoiler, if you open up the rules and start reading through the rulebook fast, you might get spoiled on the fluff. So if you don't like it, don't care about fluff, then just go right into the rulebook and get your rules. So let's check out the new Warhammer rules. Everybody's been talking about it, so I'm sure that everybody's well aware of it, but some people don't have the full picture. So here it is, the End Times magic. And it tells you when to use the End Times magic. And this magic is intended to use if you're playing a scenario out of this book. If somebody shows up with one of the elf armies out of this book, you're supposed to use the End Times magic, or if you just agree to it. So that's when this magic is supposed to supplement or change the rulebook magic. Some of the things that people that don't necessarily like about all of it is now all wizards are lore master. And I'm not going to get into all the combinations of how gross this could or could not be. I'm just going to say it in my opinions of it. I think it's pretty awesome that every wizard's a lore master. Thinking about it as in terms of only fluff and not rules, do you really think a wizard, I get it's fantasy and anything could be it, but a wizard you'd think would know a lot of spells, and you would think that a more powerful wizard would just do that spell with more gusto, with more oomph, you know what I mean? Like, it's just more of it. So a level 1 wizard might know all the spells, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it very well, and that's why it's, they don't get such a bonus to cast it. But all wizards now have the Lore Master special rule, and any wizard with the Lore Master special rule can reroll all of the dice used to attempt to cast a spell from its chosen lore. That's huge. Oh, I just irresistible force it's something. Nah, I don't need to do that. Or, wow, I really, really needed 2 irresistible force it. I'll pick up the 6 dice and chunk it again. So that's a big deal. The other change in the elf book is rolling for the winds of magic. Instead of 2d6, you use 4d6. And the dispel dice are the highest 2 dice. And then the other person gets 4. That's a little nuts. However, it gets changed a little bit because of how many dice you get to roll. But before we do that, casting a spell, I'm going to cover the bullet points in the book that talk about casting the spell. A spell can be cast more than once in the magic phase as long as it is not an end time spell for which a casting attempt has been made in the same magic phase. A spell with a casting value of 15 or more for which a casting attempt has been made in the same magic phase. And a spell for which a failed casting attempt was made in the same magic phase. Now, I know there's some debate over what a failed casting attempt is, and I know everybody's going to run to the rule book right now for me saying it, and they're going to point out a point in the rule book of this is this, and this is this, and I get it, and I'm not going to go too rules crazy here. I've played with both rulings. I've played with if a spell was dispelled, then it's not successfully cast, and I've played with the rule that people are trying to use saying that it failed means I didn't get the casting value. And I will say this, that second version of the rule with a casting value, it has to just meet it and go, and even if you dispel it with dice, I can keep doing it. If you really want to play that game of Warhammer, have a good time, I'm out. I'm out with that. That just, it's so unfun, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculously unfun. And for those of you sitting at home going, you have to try it. I've tried it twice, and I lived through a 24 to 12 magic phase once, and I watched my opponent basically with a lore master just single dice cast things, and yes, it's lucky, but basically just keep doing the same spell over and over again, and then using 2 dice over and over again. It's sick. It's sick and it's unfun. I don't like it. So whatever, that's just my opinion. You might love it, so I'm not trying to sway your opinion one way or the other. It does have a thing about boosted spell. If a spell has more than one casting value, then the spell cannot be used again in the same magic phase if the attempt to cast any version of the spell fails, or if the casting value was needed for the last version attempted was a 15 or more. The thing that's crazy now is choosing your power dice into spell dice. This rolling a d6 is absolutely gonzo. I mean, honestly, you get to roll a dice. I have power dice. Okay, how many do you get to use? Roll a d6. You could roll a 1. You could roll a 6. All of a sudden, everybody that I've seen play now with this new, when they play it, they're all about using the signature spells and the first spell. They want cheap spells because if you roll the 1, I'll try 1 dice at this. Maybe I get it. Who knows? But the big complaint over this is this d6 is the dispel portion, which is they have to roll a d6, and that's how many dispel dice they get. So I agree with almost every podcast or anybody I've heard talk that Khaine Magic is awesome or could be fun for like an alternative game, but I don't think it has a place in a tournament setting. Tournament players try to mitigate dice rolling as much as they can with Math Hammer and doing all that stuff. And knowing that you could lose a game because somebody rolled 6 power dice and they get to 6 dice, one of the bomb spells, and then you go to roll your dispel dice and turn 3 or 4, and you roll a 1, and you're like, well, that goes through. Cool. So I can't see it in a tournament, but for the most part, this whole thing, what I'm talking about, is really just for funsies. So there is that. The book does cover broken concentration, and it just says that broken concentration is no longer used. So it's just crazy. Like it's magic on steroids. So I definitely dig it. The other thing that they do have now is you can summon an arcane fulcrum. So any wizard level 3 or higher can use the Conjure Arcane Fulcrum spell, and it's an end time spell, and you cast it on a 12 or better. And you summon, it's a summoning spell with a range of 6 inches, and the caster summons a single Arcane Fulcrum model and is immediately placed on top of it. It's freaking, it's awesome. Especially, I think this is awesome because I feel like End Times is like Storm of Magic on roids once they did this. It's Storm of Magic just, wow. GW had Storm of Magic stuff in a big warehouse. They needed to sell it all, and they're like, what we'll do? We'll bring out End Times and Nagash and hook people in. They're like a drug dealer. The first hit was free with Nagash. The Glocken book cost us a little bit, and now they're really just selling it hook, line, and sinker. Here you guys go. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, come back for more. Give us some more money. Yeah. So there is that. And then there's whole new end time spells for the Lore of Beast, the Lore of Fire. I mean, there are some nuts spells here. And tomorrow we're going to cover all the spells in their entirety and talk about them just so you kind of get a grip of it for those of you that don't own the book. Because, I mean, would they make 100 copies? So not too many people have seen it or really read much about it. So we'll cover it tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for listening in. And I hope you're having had a great day. And I hope you have a happy new year. So I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.